Hello, everybody, and welcome to the LFC Transfer Room. We're joined for post-match reaction to the FA Community Shield, Liverpool versus Man City. It's finished Liverpool 3, Man City 1. It is Jurgen Klopp and the squad's first Community Shield win. So, you know, massive. There'll be a parade tonight in the streets of Liverpool, I'm sure, that everyone can banter us for. But I'm joined for a bit of post-match reaction by Colin, Anthony, and Jack. Colin, how are you feeling after that one?
I'm hyped. I'm ready. I'm on the hype train for everybody. Okay, DARWIN, Nunez, Carvalho, Salah, everybody. I'm there. I'm ready.
And Anthony, how are you feeling?
Feeling good. Obviously, if we were to lose it, it weren't a big deal. But we need to celebrate this as part of the quadruple for the upcoming season. So yeah, it's a good feeling and good to see Nunez on the score sheet.
Absolutely. And Jack, your initial thoughts?
It was a good match. I think there was a lot of positives to take from it. And I had said on a stream a few days ago, you know, if we didn't win this one, we hadn't won a Community Shield in a while. I said, just in a somewhat joking manner, I said, I'm going to be Jurgen Klopp out if we don't win another Community Shield. Don't have to worry about that. I'm still on the Jurgen Klopp train. I thought there was so many positives to glean. I think that this team really is different than last year's. It could be more dynamic. And City, I thought it was interesting from them. I'm not saying they're like going to fall off a cliff, but they're going to be prone to those inconsistencies if Haaland can't get it going immediately. So it's interesting. You just feel great after a win. I mean, like it's a good feeling, Louis.
Absolutely. Thank you to everybody who's just getting in and joining us now for this post-match reaction. Liverpool have won the Community Shield, as you probably all know. Please do like the video whilst you are here, and please do feel free to get involved in the live chat once you have subscribed to the channel if you haven't done so already. Colin, let's start with the end of that match. Darwin Nunez, of course, getting an injury time, you know, solidifying the result essentially. Couldn't have written that one much better to score in the 93rd minute or whatever it was. And then moments later, Erling Haaland presented with a golden chance to get his account truly up and running. And he completely squirmed it, didn't he? I mean, it was a pretty interesting end to that game, wasn't it?
Look, he did squirm it, but to be honest, I wouldn't want to be West Ham right now because I know for sure that they're going to smack the hell out of West Ham when they open the campaign, because as much chances and everything they racked up against us and they fail to score, it's all going to come tumbling out against West Ham and it's going to be like a bloodbath. But I don't think this could have gone any better for Liverpool if they scripted this. I mean, every important player got on the score sheet. It was just a very thorough, complete performance, man. It was so fun to watch. I can't lie, man.
Yeah, I mean, as we said, Anthony, you couldn't have scripted it much better, could you? And I don't know about Haaland. I'll ask Jack about Haaland in a minute, but Nunez, I feel like this is pretty big for him. It's clear that he's seen to some extent the reception that he's got on social media. Like, I think in one of the friendlies, he shushed the crowd. I'm not 100% sure, but it definitely feels like he's felt that pressure a little bit. To score against, the best opposition you're going to play in England, glorified friendly aside, that's a massive boost for him, isn't it, going into the season?
Definitely. I think we've always struggled scoring against City anyway. Well, not necessarily scoring, but beating them, and he sort of put that dagger in, or final nail in the coffin. But he looked really good. Just his overall play in general, like he's winning headers. The size of him, we've got an actual striker. Like it feels so good to sort of. I think Jack was saying, was it before the stream? We got like a new dynamic to this sort of Liverpool attack. It's not just hope Salah and Mane can work some magic from it. It's just we can actually cross balls to a tall player for once, and they could win them. And I'm not sure how the penalty didn't get given straight away. It's the most blatant penalty we're ever going to see all season. But he played really well. His link-up play and everything was just so fast, and he suits us perfectly. And I think we should all be excited to see what he's going to do in the next season.
Absolutely. Jack, the opposite player in that position, Erling Haaland, I'm just going to repeat what I said to you before we went live. I think a lot of people might fall into the trap of thinking, this is going to slightly slow down Haaland. Maybe he'll be a little bit, feeling that pressure slightly. But he's going to bag a hat-trick next week, isn't he? Whoever he's playing. West Ham, I think Colin said. He's going to be fine. He
was expected to score 1.5 goals today. That's a stat. That's not just my opinion. He had the one where it kind of bounced. It was like at his midriff level. He went with like the diving, like it's a great goal if he scores it, really aesthetically pleasing. Could have like done the Darwin like dipped header with that. That's just minutes, and that's that they haven't played as many matches in the preseason because Guardiola prefers training rather than preseason matches, versus Klopp likes the matches versus the training, at least for a preseason. That's why he's got one against Strasbourg tomorrow. So I'm not going to sit here and expect Holland to not bang the goals in. I think that Alvarez looked great. I thought he looked really interesting off the bench. So City have also changed their dynamic, and this is going to be, I think, a really interesting year for a different reason than last year, where I still think that it's City and Liverpool as the two clear favorites in the league, but both of them are going to be changing. How quickly can they adapt? I thought Elliott, and I think just the general existence of Nunez in comparison to Firmino, it's a great comparison to have. I hope Firmino doesn't leave, because they offer really different dynamics. Because what we saw is it was Nunez with Salah, Diaz, Elliott, Thiago, Keita, Henderson, all is kind of and Trent especially, all swarming around him to kind of create opportunities for him. And not only is that going to give him ample opportunity to bang him in, but it is different than we've played before. And it allows Salah to be a more, I don't want to say a better footballer, but the common criticism is that he has output, but he doesn't often produce, the aesthetically pleasing moments. He was really good off the ball, and when he was dribbling on the touchline, on the wing, allowing him to kind of be freed to be more of a creator, I think will really be one of the biggest elements this team can advance into, because it allows him to use those other aspects of his game where if he has to be, with Firmino dropping in, he has to be trying to get those opportunities in the box. You allow him to kind of expand into a different area of his game. So it's the knock-on effect from Nunez that I'm most excited about. But we saw clearly how important it was for him to get that goal. For Holland, conversely, when he gets that first one, I put money on him to score against West Ham. I agree with you, Louis. So once he gets that goal, it'll be the same with Holland. It breaks open the dam, and the goals will flow from there.
Yeah, I mean, Colin, sticking with Darwin Nunez, we've got to remember he was only on the pitch for half an hour, but it felt like he was massively involved in everything. And throughout pre-season, he's obviously had a lot of flack from opposition fans who, seemingly all flocked to buy an LFC TV subscription just to, make failed compilations of a half an hour appearance in pre-season. But it felt like he was pretty on fire. Like he doesn't need to be that player who's technically dribbling with the ball, but he was winning those presses, he was winning those tackles and getting into really dangerous areas to score. I mean, how impressed were you with him today?
First of all, I think we can agree that preseason means literally nothing. Okay, preseason literally means nothing at all. Secondly, Nunez looks like he looks like a road. Like, remember the cartoon Roadrunner? He looks like Roadrunner on steroids, man. He's got like a nice physical profile. He's like so direct, running at defenders. I think, like going by what Jack said, I think his gravity alone is going to be massive for Liverpool, because when he's a presence in that front line, it gives Salah a lot of room to operate. And Salah is, I think, the most complete forward in the Premier League right now, because even the looping ball he put in for the last goal, it was so perfectly played. And I think Nunez is going to be electric from day one. I just want to see if his touch improves just a bit, but I really cannot wait, because there's like so many possibilities when Nunez is playing in the front three, man. I was genuinely really excited, and he's a really electric player to watch.
I want to follow up really quick on that. What's so different about Nunez is we've never had someone sit on the last shoulder of the defender, really. It's always been kind of the forwards dropping a bit deeper, with whether it's the false nine coming deep to get the ball, the wingers kind of also being out wide. Center backs have never had to deal with someone capable of making those runs over the top, and we have such good creators. You mentioned Salah's pass was unbelievable on that third goal. Van Dijk can spray them. So to have that outlet to go from just under pressure or just win the ball back to now Nunez is in one-on-one because he's so unbelievably quick, you can't play a high line against us. You will give Nunez too many chances and he will bury them. So if you play a high line, you better hope you're winning the ball on your first press, or that ball's over the top of your defenders and you're going to struggle catching up with them.
Absolutely. Thank you to everybody who is joining us. There's now about 60 odd people. Please do like the video. It really helps us out. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. We're the best place for all of your Liverpool content going into the new season. So do consider joining us by pressing the subscribe button. And of course, please continue to get involved in the in the live chat. John Mellor is back in the live chat again. It's unbelievable. I despise you, he says. Low life. Wow. You just got to laugh, haven't you? Yeah, thank you very much for that, John. Hope you're having a lovely day. Anthony, let's talk some other players. Firmino played the first 60 minutes. Now, perusing through our group chats, perusing through Twitter spaces, etc., it seems the reception to Firmino's performance was a little bit mixed. What was your take on that?
You know what? I can't remember anything they did, to be honest. Like, there was that one opportunity where I think we were kind of through on goal, but yeah, I can't remember anything he did. But it's not like a big deal. He's not going to be starting for us regularly. He's not going to be starting ahead of Nunez for the upcoming season. But like last season, whenever he did sort of start matches, he performed really well. And the one that sort of rings a bell is the Southampton match, and I think was it Benfica in the Champions League where he scored 2 goals. Like he's going to be that player that will just sort of play whenever he needs rotation. But yeah, today I can't really remember anything he did.
Jack, what about you? Because obviously, historically, it's not really been too much about his forward output necessarily, but more how he can create space and offer up support slightly deeper. Was there anything encouraging from his performance, if you can remember it?
Again, I agree with Anthony completely. It was a very forgettable performance, if not because he didn't do anything positive. It was also just there weren't really any big negatives. He didn't lose the ball in bad positions. He just was a net zero. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's a very neutral thing. Again, it's City. With Rodri at defensive mid, the DM spot is really tough because that's where he oftentimes is adopting the position. So he had as tough a test in that match as he would. So, I wouldn't say it was a bad performance. I'm interested in what happens next with him because obviously the Juventus links aren't really going away. So if he goes or not, that's still kind of a bit up in the air. But I don't know. I think that he offers a different dynamic that is interesting. I think he's best served, not for these matches, though. I think he's best served for the teams that will really sit deep against Liverpool and really try and frustrate them. When Nunez doesn't have space to run in behind on the defense because the defense is sit on the edge of the 18-yard box. So I think he's still got a role to play, but I think this was not the match where you will see the best of Firmino this season. I think there is still a lot to give for him because he was never reliant on his physical qualities. It was more so just his movement, his first touch, and those things persisted. He didn't really have a poor touch in this match. His movement was always solid, but it was the case that we were also about as conservative as we could be. We couldn't be flinging the wingers up forward relentlessly and Firmino tucking in because we had to respect the midfield prowess of City with Kevin De Bruyne, who I thought had a pretty good performance, even though we did really well. I think Thiago was a guy who was also very, very good. This is one of those matches where I sit there and I am stunned still, even 2 years on, that he plays for us because it was it's unbelievable that a player of his quality laces him up for us.
I'm just putting a poll out on the live chat, so you can all get involved in that one. I just wanted to come to you with this one, Colin, about who starts. I think obviously Nunez has impressed massively, but we know Klopp kind of tends to prefer to ease new signings into the Premier League and also give chances to players of old to kind of retain their spot if they can. Who do you expect to start against? It's Fulham next on Saturday, isn't it? Who do you expect to start out of Firmino and Darwin Nunez?
I still think it's going to be Firmino for now, for the sole reason that Nunez is still being bedded in. I don't think he's had too much game time as well because he was being eased in preseason as well. So I still think it's going to be Firmino. And I don't. He did a lot of off-ball stuff today. That was pretty nice. He won possession a couple of times. He pressed really quickly, and he was key to us keeping the pressure on in the first 15-20 minutes. So Firmino still, as Jack said, he still has a lot to give, and I don't think he's going to Juventus of all places because they play murder ball for not in murder ball. They play the most boring football I've ever seen him. Even Dilip came and said, like, I don't like the football they were playing. So I don't think Firmino's going to go there with his white ass teeth. Okay, that's not a good fit for him anyway. So he still has a lot to give, and I still expect him to start against Fulham this coming weekend.
Anthony, so a few people in the comments wanted to talk about Luis Diaz as well, kind of the star man in the second half of last season. Pato says, I thought Diaz was also very good. He just needs to improve his shooting and get a few more goals. How did you think of his performance today?
It's sort of like Mane off like 2016, 17 when he sort of initially joined. It's like he's not quite there, but you can sort of see like what he brings to Liverpool. And that's what's happened ever since he's joined us. Anyway, he's sort of like hit the ground running and improved the forwards by like a huge amount. But like the comment said, once he gets his finishing going, then he'll be one of the best players in the world. And I don't think that's like an understatement either. Like he's not going to hit Salah levels, but that's not like disrespect. No, he's going to hit Salah levels in a while, but he's been incredible. Obviously, I think a bit of his decision making can improve. Like there was times at which where he could have got past Rodri quite easily, like just from his pace, and he kept trying to run back with it and play a bit slower. But once he gets everything perfected, then he's going to be one of the star players in this side, if he's not already.
I thought there was the move that he pulled on Rodri it was in the second half, pretty late on, when he just beats him for pace with dribbling with the ball. He's such a different dynamic because he can dribble with power, with speed, with the ball. It's not just that he can run onto it. He can collect the ball and go very direct. I wasn't the biggest fan of his performance today. I think people saying it was a good performance. I didn't see that personally. But I do agree with you, Anthony, though, that the signs are there that one or two things continue to go his way, he's going to become a world beater. And having him kind of as a guy who can start out almost on that touchline, get the ball, and then just dribble in, it allows you to stretch your forwards out so wide, where Nunez can be a bit more left leaning like he likes to be, and Salah can kind of occupy still a pretty interesting spot. So I love the dynamic of the Diaz, Nunez, Salah front three potential with some good mids behind him. So he's going to be a crucial part. If he can get some goals, it's going to be something to watch.
And I'll stick with you, Jack, on this one. Moving over to the final player in the front three, the one who's finally signed his new deal a few weeks ago, Mo Salah. It may be too soon, but it looks like he's back with a smile on his face and a bit of magic in his boots.
I mean, I don't mean to slander our good friend Charlie Webb on this stream, but Charlie was saying in when we had our debate on should we sign him, he was saying, last 6 months he was poor. I was like, I can't dispute that. His performance has dropped off, but that requires you to just turn off your brain to just look at that. He had so many matches to be played. He had two big international disappointments. He had the devastation of the Champions League final, falling short in the Premier League. He had so many things not go his way. And then he had a big one go his way. He's one of the best paid players in the world, best paid player in Liverpool history. He was finally given his worth in his eyes by Liverpool. So I agree with this comment from Anissa. He looks hungry. Like he is going to be good this season. I said earlier, I think he will be a better player this year than he was last year, but he will score less. And that is purely because of Nunez. And I think we're going to be a better side because Nunez can take some of the goal-scoring burden off of Salah and allow him to really show why he's the best player in the Premier League, if not the world right now, because he can just do his other qualities that will make the team much better. Because he is so good on the ball, receiving it, dribbling it, the creativity. I think it was Colin, you mentioned the pass to Robertson. He does that so many times, the floated one. It was perfectly weighted, and it was the case where the second that one left his feet, I knew that something good, if not a goal, was coming from that, because that's how good his quality is.
Thank you again, everybody who is in the stream and watching us. Please do like the video. It massively supports the channel, and subscribe to the channel as well if you would like to see more of us. We react and get involved in everything Liverpool. So this is the place and the community for you if you are a Liverpool supporter or a football fan who doesn't mind watching all sorts of teams, etc. And please do get involved in the live chat as well. There is a poll in there about who you think will start against Fulham out of Nunez and Firmino. But Colin, sticking with Mo Salah, because I feel like this was quite a good performance, but an interesting one in terms of what we can expect. And Jack talked about how we could see a slight shift in his role. Is that another reason why Firmino should definitely be kept around? Because you almost get two sides you can almost develop two sides of Mo Salah there. When Firmino's playing as that out-and-out false nine, you see Salah become much more of an inverted winger and an inside forward. Versus when you've got that number 9 of Darwin Nunez leading the line, you can tend to see Salah running to the byline, trying to beat his man, sticking wider, getting crosses in every now and then. So maybe this really is a bit of 4-5D chess from Klopp to bring out different sides of his star players.
First of all, I just want to say it's Ballon d'Or season, okay? It's Ballon d'Or season for Salah, okay? Did you see him today, man? He was complete and he was out for vengeance, okay? I don't know who's whispering in his ear and like telling him he's not good enough, but he came out today and from the time that the game kicked off, he was on top of his game from minute 1. And he was just terrorizing Cancelo all game, okay? Like he skinned him alive from minute 1, okay? And I really think keeping Firmino has like lots of effects, like a butterfly effect, because first of all, you can't compete on all fronts if you don't have quality depth. Okay, I think we're seeing that in midfield right now as well. But I Firmino's my favorite player. I'm going to be biased, okay, here, but either way, he's not going anywhere. Okay, and he's got to stay. Okay, because if he goes, I will simply cry.
He is a massive. He's been a massive part of what we've played, and Klopp seems to think that he can still be a big part in that. And Anthony, I guess that the $1 million question is: do you believe that he's still got enough to offer us?
Definitely, I love Firmino as well. Like some of the slander that comes as well. I was seeing someone on Twitter was like, "Oh, when's the last time Firmino's had like a good performance for us?" I was like, every time he played last season, he sort of made an impact, and you can see the difference he makes on Salah as well. Like he creates the space for him, and it doesn't really take a genius to figure out what he does. And if you're still like basing Firmino's game off of goals and assists, like you're clueless, honestly. Like it's just the perfect sort of false nine role. And back to Salah, man. Yeah, sorry, but I can't believe I was hearing, sell him for 100 million if he's not going to sign this. Like, I'll get rid of him. Man, this is genuinely like the best. It could be the best Premier League player of all time. Like, it's not. He's just too good to get rid of. And we've seen it again. He turns up in the big matches. Turns up all season. And obviously, like Jack was saying, he lost the AFCON final on penalty shootout. Lost the World Cup qualifiers on penalty shootout. So it is heartbreaking for him. So obviously, he's bound to like not get as many goals or assists, but he was still involved in goals and assists. Everyone was talking about how good Mane was. Like Salah still finished on, I think, between 2022, like since that started, he had one more goal and assist than Mane, and Mane was getting shouts for Ballon d'Or. Like, yeah, I love Mane as well, but yeah, I think Salah deserves more respect than his name, honestly, and same with Firmino.
Yeah, definitely guilty of his own high standards on that one. I mean, we can always come back to any players if we want to focus on them particularly, but I think whilst we're sort of going through them almost individually, I want to turn attention to Jordan Henderson, another player who, again, perusing Twitter, perusing our group chats, mixed reception again. So I think Jen in the comments said, really great performance from Henderson. I know there's some people who think he's well and truly past it. Jack, I think I roughly know your take on this, but what are your thoughts on Jordan Henderson in that game today?
In this game today, I thought he did about as good as I could expect him to do. He was against, of the 6 midfielders that played in the starting the match, he was the worst of them. Just going into it, not just the performance, but look at the quality of Silva, of De Bruyne, of Rodri, and then Thiago and Fabinho. He was always going to be, the guy who was the most likely to be the weakest. And people may look at it differently because he's the captain, but I thought that he had some solid moments. He didn't really blow things up. I thought he did a good job working with Trent. I think it was an issue at the beginning of last year where he was a bit more attacking as that right-sided 8, and it kind of forced Trent into that, stepping inside into that half space and didn't let him have as much freedom. I thought they had a better bit of chemistry today. And, look, I don't want us to move Henderson on. I think he's still a very good player. I think he's great as an option as an 8 and as a backup for Fabinho in the 6. But for him to be the primary starting guy, I don't think it's fair on him almost, because in this match, he was the technical skill. I think he was outmatched. Having Keita on the bench didn't prove to be a mistake. But I think that since there are so many debates with our best midfield, I think some sort of I mentioned it before the stream started. I think we are an athletic box-to-box midfielder. Doesn't have to be super technical, but just have the legs that Henderson used to have. Have someone like that as an option. It just finishes off our squad building. So I think this is a decent option. I'm interested in how much he plays this season. If he has to play in all of our big matches, I worry about our consistency in winning them. But today was not his worst performance. Wasn't his best. It was just a nice standard. Got the job done, for me at least, Louis. How did you feel about him?
I thought he was good. I mean, obviously, this is where I don't know. I struggle to really have a proper conversation about it, because I think it's so easy to have this preconceived idea of what a Jordan Henderson is. And I think it gets to the point, not necessarily you, Jack, but it gets to the point where when people watch Jordan Henderson, they are waiting for him to make a mistake. They're waiting for him.
I'm guilty of that sometimes. I'm guilty of that sometimes, where I will see that before I see the successful moment.
And the thing with football is that you're always going to fail at something at some point. Like, you're never going to have the perfect game. So again, I'm not saying you're wrong. I just come at it from like, if you go into it with I already think that Henderson probably needs upgrading on, or I don't like Henderson, or he doesn't offer enough. It only takes you seeing that mistake, and it's like, oh, I've been proved right. Like, that's it. That's all. That's the only evidence I need. So I struggle to make up my mind. I really do. I must admit, I bottle it. Colin, I'm going to come to you with it, though. I want to see if you agree with what Jack was saying about Jordan Henderson there.
Very conveniently sat on the fence right there. Very convenient for you. But no, see, I think this is where the issue is, okay? So you can't play Keita as the right-sided 8 because you need him to back up Thiago. Because if you lose Thiago for the whole season, at least you have Keita to like back him up, because it's like a similar profile. So you can't play him as the right-sided 8. But my only gripe with Henderson is how long he takes on the ball and how long he takes to turn when he's on the ball. Because if you're on transition and you have these like really, really speedy wingers who need the ball played to feet really, really quick. But by the time Henderson gets the ball and then he turns and then he has a look and then he releases, I'm not saying he does this all the time, but the number of times he does it, it kills the momentum of the counter. And we all know this is a game of very slim margins, okay? We've lost the Premier League title by a single point, okay? That's agonizingly close. And I think when you're playing with those margins, you have to work overtime to cut you have to take all the variables out. Like, you can't have any deficiencies when you're on the ball, especially for a team that's as dominant as Liverpool. That's my only gripe. But I think it's about time we transition Henderson to a backup to Fabinho full time, because I don't think we have a backup to him at all. And we need to manage his minutes as well, because if we're going to play as many games as we played last season, we're going to need minutes management across the board.
Interesting. I mean, going off your point about moving him to a full-time backup for Fabinho, I mean, Anthony, do you think that that's something Henderson's capable of doing well consistently? Like, I think in the odd game he can come in and do a job and we'll say, oh, brilliant, like Captain Fantastic, super versatile. But say Fabinho got a bit of an injury, do you think could he really make that position his own if that arose?
It's a tough one. You know what the problem is. I agree with everyone basically, especially your point actually, where you're saying I'm guilty of it, where you sort of go into matches and expect a Henderson mistake. But I think it's just sentiment. Like, he's been here for so long, nobody sort of wants to see him go. But the reality is, like Jack pointed out, out of 6 midfielders on the pitch, he's the worst one, and it's not like a rare like match. It happens every single match, and that's the problem. I think whenever Keita plays, I know I'm banging about Keita every single stream, but whenever he does play, you see a difference. And you saw it for the 3rd goal. Keita quick pass into Carvalho, and we're through on goal. And and we get a goal at the end of it. Whereas with Fast Henderson, he takes like a few seconds to make up his mind, and he'll either pass it sideways or backwards, and that's the issue. And although I don't think he was awful today. There were obviously a couple of sloppy passes, but as with everyone, like he was pressing from the front, he was doing his job, but consistently, like your point, to back up Fabinho, I don't think it'll be like we'll obviously see the difference between Fabinho and Henderson, but I don't think it'll be that much of a miss compared to if we were to play Henderson in midfield for the rest of the season. And obviously, we suffered last season. We didn't win a trophy. Obviously, we won 2 trophies. We didn't win the Premier League or the Champions League, but and that's happened for 2 seasons in a row with Henderson in midfield. I think it's about time to switch it up and play Keita there. Whenever Keita, Thiago, Fabinho do play, we win matches, and the reality is Keita has got our highest winning percentage out of all our midfielders. So starting.
I'll come on to Keita in a minute, because I think that's another player who maybe finished last season putting a bit of a sour taste in people's mouths. I'll always say that the hate Keita got over the summer was purely because of that miss in the Champions League final. That's all anyone could think of when they thought of Keita.
Louis, I abandoned Keita FC because of that miss. So Anthony hates me for it, but it was that miss that like just burned in my brain when I was thinking about Keita.
But other than that, it was certainly his best season with us. That doesn't mean it was amazing, but I think it shows that there is something there. And he obviously, he was only gone for a short period today, but he did okay, and we will talk about that. But another point that Colin made, Jack, which was about this is where I go into brain freeze mode, but we came so close to winning the title last year, and I hate to talk about it again.
Mm-hmm.
And we came so close to the Champions League, which would have then given us an unprecedented quadruple. We lost by the finest of margins. It was an offside goal that Benzema got involved in that, and he was offside. And it was an Aston Villa collapse in the last 20 minutes. Is it fair to say, well, we should have almost, preempted that and got rid of all the variables, i.e., I guess what Colin was saying was kind of Henderson or upgrading on Henderson. Is that fair to say, or do you kind of have to sit back and be like, well, there's only so many teams that can get that close, and ultimately it could have gone either way. And if it went our way, which it just could have done on the toss of a coin, we wouldn't be saying this. We wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with the second point you made, where it's the proximity to that success was so close that you can't really say that we were wrong, And that's why I think people in the Henderson debate, they mistake things. Louis just did not want to hear my point.
I'm here.
I know. But Henderson did not want to, or in terms of Henderson, it's not that he is the reason why we fail. He's the reason why we succeed, but our expectations and our margin for error and the improvements we make are so fine. There are so small changes we can make that it is players like Henderson that can be upgraded upon. So I agree that I would say, I wouldn't even say that Henderson is the reason we didn't win either of those trophies, because he wasn't really seriously at fault in the Champions League final, nor was he really, because I thought we played well enough to win the final. So fundamentally, I don't think that there was anything that we did poorly. It's just that we needed to, when your performance is fine, but the execution and the result doesn't go, you need to change things up slightly. And that's what we did. We got rid of Mane. We brought in Nunez. We didn't score a goal in any of our 3 finals last year. So we replaced our number 9.
Today.
We scored 3 today. And one of them was from the guy we replaced Mane with. I've pulled on the German Super Cup. I'm watching Mane play for Bayern, just kind of, stab myself in the heart a little bit. Now it's really hitting me that, like, okay, he's playing for somebody else now. He wasn't just injured today. But I don't know if I think bringing in Nunez seriously would help our ability to get over the edge in these matches. But I think that, again, our next upgrade, and I think it's pretty evident in terms of how the reports suggest for Klopp's mentality in terms of new signings, our next thing we do to improve is getting an 8 who is the athletic, box-to-box, technically sound. The perfect signing is Jude Bellingham, where he's capable of handling the transitions. He's good technically. He can work well with Trent. He's just your classic box-to-box. So obviously, I think we're waiting for him. I hope that we're not solely waiting for him. And if we realize that that's not attainable, we can upgrade upon him. But to kind of go back to your original question, Louis, I do agree with, I think, your sentiment that we were so close. You can't really say you'd change much and you would have done it. It was just, it didn't go your way. That's the sport. It just didn't land your way. The coins that you flipped 100 times that season, you got so many heads, and 2 times you got a tails. And that was Steven Gerrard's Aston Villa being unable to secure that win or the draw. And that was us being unable to finish some good chances, and Thibaut Courtois having an unbelievable Champions League final. So I wouldn't change anything about last season, because if you change too many things, you're not getting to that position in the end regardless. And I think Henderson was a big reason we got there. Could he have been the reason we didn't push it over the edge? Sure. But I don't think you can discredit how his role in getting us there for his detriment potentially in not finishing the job.
Once again, thank you very much to everybody who is tuning in for our post-match reaction to the Community Shield result. Almost 100 people in here, which is lovely to see. So please do like the video. It really helps us out. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. We're here every single day for Liverpool content, whether that's a game, reaction, transfer news, daily news, everything like that. Normally going live at 7:30, but of course today was a match, so slightly different. Please do get involved in the live chat as well. Colin, I want to give you kind of a chance to have another say on Henderson as well. The performance today, and how big a part do you see him playing in this team going forward this season? Do you think that, going off of what's been said, the perhaps lack of midfield signings, Oxlade-Chamberlain being injured, a lot of us, I think, last year talked about maybe him this season taking a bit of a back step, maybe turning into a semi-James Milner. But is that the case, or is he going to be, again, a pretty massive part of our starting 11 this year?
I think he's a bona fide starter. He's going to start. That's the midfield that started today. That's the first choice midfield, and that's going to start, I think, at least 70% of the games. For a second, I thought Elliott would slot in there, but I don't see it right now, at least. I think Henderson's going to be starting a majority of those games at the right side of the 8. And that's fine. I'm not a hater, okay? I'm not on the hater train, okay, right here.
You're a hater, Colin.
No, man, come on. It's a fine line, okay? It's a fine line, okay? I'm just saying, when you see Salah, when you see Thiago, and when you see Trent doing all these beautiful, beautiful things with the ball, and then when you see Henderson's lob passes not even reaching or like going out of play and stuff like that, it's like a stark contrast to what your midfielders can do on the ball. And we moved away from our midfield needing to be industrious and just putting the hard yards and just covering ground. We retain so much of the ball now, especially with Thiago in the side, that we need midfielders who make shit happen on the ball, which is the only reason I'm saying why you need to upgrade that specific position. Because when you have a right side with Trent and Salah, and you upgrade the right-sided midfielder, it immediately raises the ceiling of whatever your team can do at any given second on the pitch. And that's basically the only minor, very, very tiny chink in this current Liverpool side. I would say third string goalkeeper as well, but the third string goalkeeper is not really much of concern because Adrian's not going to be in the conversation for too long anyway. This is like an outstanding circumstance. So that's not an area that's a priority. But this right side rate, I'm telling you, especially after going so close to the title, and when you know what kind of caliber of teams you're competing against, this is the kind of call you need to make. And it sounds kind of cutthroat, but that's the difference between like going all out for the titles, man. Like you got to make some harsh decisions sometime, and no one's asking to like sell him or whatever. He's a very, very good player who'd be a very, very good backup to Fabinho as well. All we're saying is that, okay, have a look at it at least. Again, I'm not a hater, okay? Just putting it out there.
Henderson once a week.
I appreciate that.
Henderson once a week, I think, or once every 2 weeks, given the immense amount of rest, he can get past that physical block, I think, that he's having now that he's an older player. So it isn't even just a case of replace Henderson because he's bad. It's replace Henderson because it lets you get the best out of him right now, rather than running him into the ground. Same with Fabinho. You have a fit and firing Henderson as a backup for Fabinho, or maybe you bring in, I don't know, like a Sangare as a backup for Fabinho. You have an option to play a double pivot, potentially. You change things up. It allows you to just have these guys play at their best because of their fitness level. And on the point you made about Adrian, I don't get the hate for him. You know, to be honest, we know what kind of keeper he is. And yes, he had a bad performance for the goal that they scored. He made some decent saves. He didn't play it out from the back very well. He's your third choice keeper. You're not going to have some world beater in that position because they're not going to want to play as a third choice keeper. So I think that, again, it's the impact. He clearly gets along really well with all the players. I think he's the perfect third choice keeper. And I thought he did a good enough job today to get us the win. He had his one big blunder where he gave it back to Foden, but other than that, you know, I don't know what else you could expect. Like that, we know who he is and we know what position he's in. He's the third choice keeper. I don't know. The anger for him, I get you can be frustrated, but the anger, I didn't get that personally.
I still think we should get Ben Foster instead.
No.
I totally get it. I totally get your point, and I'm always the first one. Like, I don't like Adrian, but as soon as I see people going in on him, I just have this natural instinct to defend him. Like, I will convince myself that he is brilliant. But when I'm being honest with myself, he is just such a dweeb in goal, man. Like, I think you can be a third choice keeper and still give relative security to your defense and a bit of confidence. Like, you can just tell whenever he kicks the ball out or whenever he dilly-dallies, you just see Matip or Trent or Van Dijk just give him a glare, and it cringes me out so bad because he seems like the least self-aware person ever. Like, he just thinks he's playing for Liverpool and has won the Community Shield with them, and he was instrumental to the Super Cup. He thinks he's brilliant, but everyone around him knows that he ain't that good.
I'm gonna defend him, Louis. He's not that good compared to the other players at Liverpool, the standard that they are. But compared to us bums, he's a god. He's a god amongst us bums. That was an interesting comment from Red Sea. You know, we knew Adrian would cost us 1 to 2 goals. Thankfully, we scored 3. I do agree, though. Like, you could have a third choice keeper who's just not that great, but doesn't have a mistake in him. You know, like, just Adrian's a decent shot stopper. You know, but he just is capable of making a serious lapse in judgment. So I don't know. It's like it's a give and a take. You know, you could take some good passing out from the back, but they don't know how to use their hands. They're a good shot stopper, but they have like just bricks for feet. They don't know what to do with them. So I don't know. I don't know if there's a better scenario if you have a third choice keeper than that. I mean, we may have, like, it's the classic, you know, Liverpool overrate their players. We may have the best keeper in the world, the best backup keeper in the world. Maybe Adrian's the best third choice keeper in the world. I don't know if anyone has a better shot for third choice.
Get on that in the live chat because I'm sure there's got to be somebody better at third choice. But we'll see. We'll see what people can dig up. Let's talk about the back four, or the back two, whatever. Especially in regards to having Haaland up against them. A lot of people thought Haaland versus Van Dijk would be a bit of a heavyweight clash, and I'm sure as the season progresses and Haaland beds in, it may become that. But Anthony, I know he definitely had one or two clear-cut chances, one absolute gilt-edged chance. But apart from that, there wasn't too many occasions where he broke free or I was particularly terrified of what he would do next. We dealt with him pretty well on this first outing, didn't we?
Yeah, definitely. But to be fair, he's up against Van Dijk and Matty, so it's not like he's up against like the rest of the Premier League. So it was never going to be easy for him. But obviously, he still managed to get 2 chances anyway, and that's what's going to happen all season for him. So playing in Man City's side, and I don't think De Bruyne probably had the best like sort of creative chances in the match set up for him. But yeah, he's going to be firing throughout the whole season. That's why he's in my fantasy as well. But the chance he missed, I can't stop laughing, honestly. You know what it is? Because we've been hearing slander about Nunez all pre-season about how he missed that open chance against United. Then he's just gone and done that in the Community Shield final or Community Shield even. So it is just hilarious. But I don't think City fans have too much to worry about him, Alvarez. And I think we're a bit harsh on Adrian's goal. I think that was a bit of a foul. Like, he had both hands on the ball, unless I've just not seen it properly. But yeah, we didn't really give City that many chances in general, to be fair. And I think Colin may not be a hater, but I hate Adrian and I hate Henderson too. Honestly. But Jack's point about keeping him around for, like, in terms of team spirit, 100%. Like, he's not going to play regularly for us, and obviously Keller won't be injured throughout the whole season, and same with Alisson. And yeah, not really much about Adrian, but I thought the back four did really well. Robertson stopped taking shots. Has he ever scored like a goal with his feet for us? I think against Brighton, his first goal, but he is so useless with it. Just pass the ball or cross it. Like honestly,
If he could
and
finish
Trent,
though, if he
the
could
goal
finish, he'd be in double figures because he gets into so many good positions, doesn't he?
Exactly, it's like Trent's on. I'm sure Trent's on double figures by now. Like in his Liverpool career, like the difference between these technical ability is incredible. But yeah, you got to love all that fun. You know, I was thinking about this the other day. Yeah, do you think so? With Van Dijk in there, obviously he's the main starter. So if you swap him with Konate, Matip, or Gomez, either any of those three, do you think that's the best centre partnership in the world?
Ooh, I think that I think we'd all probably come close to agreeing with that one because I just think Van Dijk is clear by so far, and I know that that's my bias taking over, but I've never in my life seen a cooler centre back ever. And I think we can all chuck it back 30 years and say, oh, Maldini, and bring back all these names. But if they were in the age of social media, you know, you'd see things that you didn't think they were capable of doing in terms of, you know, mistakes and not being, you know, without social media, people in the past were perceived as almost godlike and these mystical creatures almost, because there was no real connection with them outside of interviews or whatever. But we see them in training. We're nailed in with them 24/7. We see every angle of every play they make in the Premier League. And he's got barely a scratch against his record. I just think he's so clear. And Matip, Konate, and Gomez are brilliant centre-backs in and of themselves. So I'd almost have to say yes. I would almost say yes.
Louis, I think if Van Dijk played, so let's like imagine that the development of technology and social media took place 20 years from now, you know, but there was still the same physical edge that exists in the Premier League right now. And Van Dijk played and there wasn't that social media documentation of it almost. He'd be talked about like he was a god. The amount of mistakes that he makes. He was talked about like he was unbelievable. And so it's a big factor, the social media aspect of things. It's like people can clearly Darwin Nunez bought into that and he saw it and he read it and it's getting into him. That can be it can be a twofold reaction. It could be a good one or it could be a bad one. I guess it also could be a neutral one, but that's, I don't know, that's weird. But for Van Dijk to have so few mistakes in his Liverpool career, it's unbelievable. Anthony, the only pairing that I wouldn't put as best is Gomez Van Dijk. And I know that's the harshest probably because that won us the Prem title, but I think Gomez, it's not like it's bad. It's still so good for it to be arguably your fourth choice center back and your first choice. So I would say that's like top 10. But I would say Konate Matip or Konate Van Dijk, Matip Van Dijk are probably the top two center back duos in the world right now. Which is actually embarrassing the riches we have. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is mental, isn't it? Colin, what's your thoughts on that and just the wider performance today from that back line and dealing with not only Haaland but the rest of the attacking options at City's disposal?
You know what? I want to be as good as my job as Van Dijk is at his, because he just goes through life, man. He just goes through games in second gear and he just goes into third gear maybe like once or twice every game, and he just like goes back to just chilling on the byline, just like shouting and like putting his hair right and like stuff like that. That's what he does all game, man. He doesn't do jack shit. He just chills, and he's just like the gravity of Virgil van Dijk as a defender. But I could just look up and be like, you know what? Should I even run at him? Like, I'll just bounce off him, man. I can't even like run at him. I can't even outpace him because he's gonna run past me anyway. And he's doing all of this after a major surgery. Okay, let's not forget that he had a major injury not too long ago, and he came back earlier than expected, and he didn't miss a beat. Like maybe the first 3 games or something, and then he was back to being an immortal center back. Okay, I genuinely don't understand how City did not go all in for him, because he would have been, if City got him, that would have been the end. Like, you sign whoever, I don't think you could have been able to beat that City monstrosity. But having a centre back like that, I don't think it matters who you put alongside Van Dijk, because he marshals that back line so well. And especially when you have Alisson behind as well, it's just complete security, and that's why the whole idea of having that backline is like you let them take shots from afar. But then when you have a keeper like Adrian, okay, this is what I'm coming back to. When you have a keeper like Adrian and you take shots from afar and you spill those, and you have an attacker like Haaland or something. I know he didn't score today, but even the shot that he skimmed, it came from Adrian not having a strong enough hand to push the shot away after saving it. It was a good save, but what comes after the save? Even that shot from Haaland came from him not having a strong enough hand. But either way, man, I think Van Dijk and Konate is currently our best centre back partnership because they are extremely quick and extremely strong, and they're man mountains basically. And everything else that comes with it is just gravy.
Colin, you made an interesting point with Van Dijk if he was at City and how unbelievable they would be. Like if you do a Venn diagram with Ruben Diaz and Adrian, like what falls in that center part where they overlap is like they both speak Spanish, and they both have that goofball can make a mistake in them gene. Like you saw the penalty that he gave away. He also gave away a penalty to Madrid in the semifinal. You know, like he's got that in him where if they had some center backs like Ake and Diaz is not a great center back duo. Like that's not great. It's good, but it's not great. It's got that flaws to it. So like you look at us and our suit of armor, it's pretty we got a little bit of a weak spot on the right side of the center, you know, with Henderson, a little bit of a weak spot, but other than that, we're pretty good all round. Versus City, I am a hater. But there are for City, I think like they have a bit of a mushy core. You know, you got the Diaz, the Ake, Stones is solid, Laporte is solid. Again, they're all solid, but then Ederson, he's not as good a shot stopper as Allison is. So, you know, again, we're probably going to do our Premier League predictions this week. So this is definitely not a good performance to like temper our expectations leading into the season for sure. But will we win? Will we win 4 trophies this year? I'm going to lock it in. I think we are.
Well, talking of, you know, crazy predictions, I'm sure this is a joke and I really hope it is, Adam. But Adam says, Man City was so bad, I'm predicting Spurs will beat them out for 4th in the league. Now, I know that can't be real. But to everybody getting excited, we are not about to rule out or underestimate Man City for the 3rd season in a row, right?
Nope.
We are not doing that. We are not doing that where they start badly, they lose their opening game, and we think, oh, actually, yeah, they're shit.
This is what's
Guardiola's a fraud, and we're going to storm the league this year. We're not doing that.
This is what's so infuriating, Louis. I was watching, so I had to watch the ESPN FC pre-match show because I'm watching on the ESPN. I'm in the States. And they are like, so they have like Stevie Nicol, you know, former Liverpool player. But he's just an old dude. But they were saying, you know, City, they're just so good at the start of seasons. I was listening to that. I was like, how can you say that? After the evidence over the last few years, City starts slow. Middle of the year, they are unbelievable. And then end of the year it's a toss-up because it's just like fatigue at that point. It's just how well can you get your instincts across the edge. I thought we were going to comfortably win this match because it's the beginning of the season. We've played more preseason matches. We're just sharper than City are right now. Are we better than them? That's going to be decided when we play in the middle of the season, not right now. So I hope no one's seriously putting City anywhere but top 2. If you're doing your Premier League predictions, right, it's the top 6 teams, you know, the big 6. I think it's broken into 3 tiers, if you ask me. I think it's Liverpool, City. I think it's Arsenal, Spurs, and I think it's Chelsea, United. Now, granted, some signings for United and Chelsea could bump them back up into making it like a more collective unit, but I don't think you can look at City and the stuff that was existing there, the raw that was existing there, and not think they were going to be still one of the, if not the best team in Europe this coming season.
I mean, yeah, as you said, we will do our preseason predictions at some time this week. Let's round this off now because I think we've been talking for a good old while, and let's go for our man of the match, which I think is tricky because a lot of players who came on did very, very well. Obviously, Nunez, a big part of 2 goals, obviously winning the penalty as well. But apart from that, some very good performances in the first half as well. I'll start with you, Colin. Who is your man of the match today?
Mo Salah Ballon d'Or season.
I'm sure some people definitely agree with you on that one. He's looking refreshed, not to get too excited. He looked up for it against big opposition, so we'll see how that progresses. And Jack, what about you?
I think, have we even talked about him much? Trent, the guy who scored the first goal. Like, I think it's just so standard now that those are the performances he drops. I thought he was solid. I thought he was really, really good. And I think he had that moment where we're seeing him collect those balls in the center of the pitch a lot more. You know, we saw the first assist he gave to Nunez in that match against Leipzig, where he pretty much was leading the press with him and then won the ball back and played it in to him. So him to kind of add that goal trait to him, that central creativity spot, it was the next addition to his game, because he was already dominating the wing from those deeper line spaces. Now, if he adds that, I thought he was brilliant. I thought he broke the match open for us, and think that he was there was a lot of good shouts, but I think that Trent, being the guy who got things going, is my man of the match.
And let's finish with you, Anthony. Who is your man of the match for the Community Shield final?
I'm going to go with Salah as well. I thought all match is incredible, and scored a goal, got an assist, and even for the penalty, he kind of got the assist for it as well, technically. But and obviously created the third one for Nunez. But you could have gave it to a few players. I thought Thiago was incredible in the midfield. City couldn't touch him, and like Jack said, Trent was unbelievable as well. But got to be Mo Salah.
Thank you very much to everybody who has tuned in throughout. Please do like if you haven't done so already. We're at about 50 likes, which is brilliant. Any more would be massively appreciated. We're nearly at 5,900 subscribers, so very close to the road to 6,000. So please do subscribe for more Liverpool content. We'll be back for the Strasbourg friendly tomorrow with myself. I'll be doing a live watch along for that. I think it's 7 p.m. kickoff, so we'll be live here from about 6:30 or maybe just after, because I know it's the England women's Euros final, so I might be watching that. But anyway, please do tune in for that, and we will be live every night at 7:30 as well. Thank you very much, Colin, Jack, and Anthony, for joining me on this post-match reaction. Liverpool finally won the Community Shield under Jurgen Klopp. How much of a big deal is that? Is up to you. It's subjective. We won't take this away from you if you really think this is a massive thing. Likewise, if you think it is just a glorified friendly, you're more entitled to think that. But now that we've won it, I think it does mean more, doesn't it? Exactly. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. We'll see you in the next stream tomorrow. Take care and have a lovely Saturday evening.